Oh, hello, good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from a news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I'm Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, 3 individuals, including the Director of Finance at the National Signals Bureau, are set to testify against the former Director General, Kwabena Edubwahin, and 3 others currently on trial. We have the full details for you. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. Also, the Office of Special Prosecutor is intensifying its efforts to apprehend former Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta, who has officially been declared wanted. Stay with us for the latest on this rapidly unfolding story here on Ghana Tonight. And then also shift our focus to 10 years on, a decade after the devastating twin fire and flood disaster at Kwame Nkrumah Circle. What lessons really have we truly learned, and are we in any better position, prepared to prevent such tragedies in the future? That's the fundamental question on the minds of many as we're looking back 10 years ago and what happened. We have that also, and focusing on the aftermath of Chairman Wontumi's release. Temporarily, we understand is working as a free man temporarily after being released from the Iyoko custody yesterday. He's been visiting Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Brian Champon as well. A political analyst is reading beyond just the showing of support for him into what he says is a bigger agenda, a bigger picture. What is that? Stay with us. We're getting to it. As always, you are an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
President John Mahama has reaffirmed his resolve not to interfere in ongoing anti-corruption fight with state agencies. The president says there is evidence of illicit wealth and procurement of properties that has gotten state anti-corruption agencies' interest.
One of the major problems that was affecting our fight against corruption was political interference. The anti-corruption agencies were not allowed to do their duty without being interfered with by the political elite. I have told the public and assured my Attorney General and Minister of Justice that I'm not going to interfere in their work, and that if the anti-corruption agencies go after anybody, I'm not going to try and influence them to drop any investigation against anybody.
The Interior Minister, Muntaka Muhammad Mubarak, says the operation that was conducted on the residence of the former governor of the Bank of Ghana, Philip Addison, followed due process and with full compliance with the laws. He was answering questions from the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Marking, who wanted to know the circumstances surrounding the raid on the residence of the former governor of the Bank of Ghana.
The said operation was in no doubt conducted with strict adherence to due process and in full compliance with the applicable laws of the state, and was meticulously done in the presence of the former governor.
Would you be kind enough to tell this House the purpose for which the search was conducted?
It was to aid an existing investigation.
The Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Joseph Withau, says the Economic and Organized Crime Office, Iyoko, did not commit any human rights violations against the arrest of NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Entwi Busiako. He affirmed that Iyoko adhered to due legal processes in carrying out its mandates.
Iyoko administratively did the right thing. Any of us is subject to arrest at any given time, and they have the powers of the police. They arrested him. There has been a delay. They granted bail within 48 hours. It is the nature of the conditions of the bail that has delayed the release of the chairperson of the MPP in Ashanti region. I must say 50 million It depends on what they intend to charge him with.
It's been 10 years since flood and fire swept through a street in Kwame Nkrumah Circle, killing more than 150 people. A decade on, while victims of the June 3 twin disaster reflect on life after the tragedy, we ask if Ghanaians believe the country stands ready to avert a similar disaster.
My son was a victim. We received housing cities, but it was not from the government. The issue of flood here is quite intense. The gutters are too small. My sister died and my brother-in-law was severely injured. We received no form of compensation.
1 year and
I was with my wife when it happened, and I lost her. I received free medical care while on admission, but not when I was discharged.
I asked that the government, together with the citizens, put measures in place to help mitigate the problem.
Finance Minister Dr. Kasila Tufo-Singh has submitted an amendment bill to Parliament seeking to raise the energy sector levy to 1 Ghana cedi per litre of fuel. The proposed increase contained in the energy sector levy amendment bill is aimed at addressing long-standing financial shortfalls in the energy sector. Although government had previously pledged not to introduce new taxes this year, the minister assured Parliament that the recent strengthening of the Ghana cedi would help cushion the impact of the increase.
To help raise additional revenue to fund the needs in the power sector, government is proposing an increase in pump price of petrol, diesel and related products. The impact will be absorbed by the gains made from the strong performance of the Ghana cedis. And this will mean that consumers will not have to pay extra for the price of petrol and diesel beginning today. Right, Honorable Speaker, our simulations suggest that there will be no increase in the pump price of petrol and diesel in the next window beginning today.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. As always, probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, and Saxo Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Preco. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, 3 witnesses testify in the trial of former National Signals Bureau Director General Kwabena Eduboahing and accomplices for allegedly diverting some 49.1 million Ghana cedis. Now, this is the latest in this story that has been unfolding in a very, very interesting way. I'm going to show you a bit of what's been happening in court over time. And at least what we do know now is that 3 persons will be testifying against the former boss of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Eduboahing, and 3 other persons standing trial for what has now become a 49.1 million cedi scandal. We have a fair idea of what these witnesses will be saying in court. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight and follow us every step of the way. Now, based on some information that we have gathered from our sources, my colleague Dennis Baberi Wadama Esquire has been looking into the crystal ball on this matter. He's joining me in the studio right now. It's good to have you, Dennis, as always.
Always a pleasure being here, Alfred.
What is Octopus telling us?
Well, so we happen to know beforehand what exactly will be happening in court when the trial actually begins. You know, we are still at a stage where parties have been ordered to file their disclosures. That is to say, whatever documents you have at your end, especially from the prosecution, you give it to the defense. And that's how come you would have seen some witness statements having been filed already.
Yeah.
That means that prosecution is saying that these are the witnesses that are coming to testify in this particular matter, and this is what they will be saying. So, I mean, after that, they will just have to reconcile documents, what we call the case management conference, and then prosecution begins to put their witnesses in the box, and that's when trial actually begins.
That's right.
But even before that, we have a fair idea who these witnesses are going to be for the prosecution and what they will be saying in respect of that. But
so this process to avoid any surprises, eh?
Yes,
right?
yes. I mean,
okay.
There's no ambush litigation is not allowed.
Absolutely.
So you have to let them know beforehand. But just before that, let's just refresh our minds as to who really the accused persons are, because it will put some of the matters into proper perspective.
Yeah.
That there is a republic against 4 accused persons. We have always indicated that only 3 of them are like natural human beings. The other one is a company. So we'll deal with the 3. So Kwabena Edu-Boahen, who is the former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, he is the first accused person. His wife, Angela Eje-Boatin, is the second accused person. And Mildred Donko is the third accused person. We understand he was a relationship manager at one of the banks to Kwabena Edu-Boahen. The charges include stealing, conspiracy to steal, defrauding by false pretenses, and willful causing financial loss to the state. This is in respect of some 49 million Ghana cedis, which they say, which allegedly has been diverted. Now let's get into the business for today, which has to do with the persons who are going to testify in this particular matter against these 4 accused persons. The first person we know is one Edith Ruby Opokuwa Edumwa, yes. She happens to be the Director of Finance at the National Signals Bureau, and she's been at that position since 2020. She's worked within the national security sector for 18 good years, and she says that from 2017, she has worked directly under Kwabena Edu-Boahen, then as the Director General of the National Signals Bureau. She seems to be somebody who has been in the system and understands the workings of the system.
Absolutely.
Now let's look at the areas of her testimony. What really is she going to talk about?
Perfect.
She's going to talk about matters that relate to the financial operations of the Bureau, its bank accounts. So she'll give the number of bank accounts that they were operating, who the signatories to the accounts were, how money got into those accounts as in the source of funds. She'll also be speaking to matters of deposits and transfers of monies and other related matters. This deposit and transfers, it's the part where she'll be telling the courts how much money was deposited at what account and how much money was transferred from what account to what account. As part of that, she would also be talking about transfers and deposits into bank accounts that at the time that she was doing those transfers and deposits on the instructions of the first accused person, who is Kwabena Edu-Boahen, she believed that those bank accounts were actually bank accounts of the Bureau, only for her to later realize upon interrogation by the IOCO officials that those accounts were actually private accounts and did not form part of the national security accounts. And
that's part of what the Attorney General has been saying right from the get-go in giving some detail about this particular case, is it not?
So the similarities in the names of the account and all that will come up. And really, when you look at the testimony that this person is talking about, parts of the issues that the Attorney General spoke about are the things that have been talked about in this one. She also be testifying on matters that relates to some facilitations by A3. Now, A3 is Mildred Donko, the former UMB banker, who we understand now works, or before this incident, was working closely with A1 and A2 in managing some of the finances. Now, the testimony in respect of some facilitations that Mildred Donko performed or helped perform at UMB. This testimony actually relates to some transactions at some point where she was supposed to make some deposits. She was instructed to go specifically to deal with her. And even after she had left the bank, she was still out of the bank and allegedly still coordinating as to who to contact for what transaction. So all that is contained in the testimony of this particular lady. She also testifies on matters that relate to the transfer of the 7 million that was allegedly sent to ISC Holdings Limited under the instructions of Kwabena Edu-Boahen. Now, mind you, this is the crux of the whole matter.
Right.
This, $7 million, which converts to 49.1 million Ghana cedis, is the entire amount, which is the basis for this whole suit.
True.
So she also testified in relation to that. She's not the only person. There's also Frank Anani Depe. Now, he's a driver, and he describes himself as an errand assistant to the accused persons. He describes how he got to know the second accused person, as a church member, through getting to know the third accused person was the first person that she got to know.
Right.
She was running errands for her. Then she got to know...
The third accused person being
Mildred.
Just Mildred,
Yes.
Mildred Donko.
Yes.
Okay.
As a church member.
Right.
And then along the line, she had to run errands for the first accused person, and they also got along, and then he got to know the first accused person's wife. So eventually...
This is Kobne Dubois.
Yes, and the wife. So eventually, he got to know all the three accused persons. I mean, the natural persons.
And this is a driver.
And this is a driver. He says he used to be a taxi driver, but now he drives a private car.
Right.
So, yes. He also
I'm interested
testified.
in the areas he's going to be talking about, because the driver, you probably want to know with conversations that
his
he
testimony
was privy to.
actually relates to, I mean, because he says he was an errand assistant. He says that they used to send him on errands to withdraw money and to deposit money. He mentions the names of the banks. He even gives specifics as to the number of times. He indicates that there are instances where they will send him to the bank, show him specific people to deal with. There are times he goes there with sealed checks so that he doesn't get to see what amount is on the check, delivered to some specific bank staff. He says that there are instances he goes to withdraw money with Ghana must go bags. So all that forms part of his testimony. And that is the driver. And this, so here you see it. Sealed checks given to him by Mildred, directed to specific bank staff to do transactions without even knowing the amount involved. He goes on to mention the fact that he goes there sometimes to Ghana must go. He takes the money. Either he's going to deposit the money or he's going to give money to the A1 or A3. A1 is Eduboahin. A3 is Mildred. He says instructively that he has never given money to A2.
A2 being Eduboahin's wife?
Eduboahin's wife.
That's Angela?
Yes. He also talks about, deposits into bank accounts of Vertex Solutions. You recall that as part of the facts that the Attorney General is putting before the court, there are issues of other companies that were also set up and used as conduit for this. One of them is the Vertex Solutions. He says that he knows Vertex Solutions because he had deposited money into an account. He says he got to know it because when they gave him the pay-in slip, the name on the pay-in slip was Vertex Solutions. So that is his testimony. The final one is the one by the lead investigator in this particular matter. He's a staff officer at Iyoko, Frank Marshall Cromwell, another Frank. Hopefully he gives a Frank testimony. Mind you, the driver is also Frank.
Rightly so.
Yes,
so there
Frank
are two Franks in there.
Yes. So hopefully they give Frank testimonies.
Hopefully.
So he too speaks to the entire matter that relates to the amount of money involved. Like I explained, the money is 49.1 million Ghana cedis, and that this money was diverted from the bureau's account from Fidelity Bank to a private account at UMB, and that this was done by the first accused person, Kobna Eduboahin. Now, just so to put the numbers into perspective, like I explained earlier, the 7 million per the exchange rate at the time is what translates to. So when you see the $7 million, it's still the same. The equivalent is the
at the prevailing rate at the time.
At the time, yes.
Okay.
So he also talks about that contract that was signed by Eduboahin on behalf of the National Signals Bureau. That's for Ghana on one side, and then the IC Holdings Limited for that software. He talks about the payment that was made into the private accounts. He says
Senano is going to be joining us in a bit. Adam Senano on this one.
Sure.
He's joining us on Zoom in a bit. Yeah.
Right. So this money, according to the lead investigator, was paid into a private account in 3 tranches. So when you look at it, 27.1 million, 21 million, and 1 million. He says that then eventually a part of it was paid into the account of this company that was a part of the contract, and then the remaining amount was used for acquisition of properties. So he gives a list of the properties that we had seen before and all that. He also indicates in his testimony the roles that he found each of the accused persons to have played in all of this. So this basically is going to form the body of evidence that the Attorney General will partly use to prosecute this matter, Alfred.
A very interesting detail you put out there, and just in the spirit of and the principle as demanded of disclosures, we see this. So these are the allegations, as it were, and the testimonies of
Yes.
the persons whom you have named in this particular issue, in this case. So in the coming days, this is what they're going to present to the court.
Yes. So
that this is what they know.
Mind you,
these persons.
It is the state that has a case against these persons. The state has alleged that they've done A, B, C, D. It is now time for the state to prove its case. Now the state says that for me to prove my case, these are the people who are going to help me prove my case.
Right.
Because for some instances, they have seen and they can testify to it. So they will enter the box and testify. When they are done, they will cross-examine them. So if whatever they are saying here, it's not true, at the point of cross-examination, it will show. So that is how the case is going to proceed. But we are not there yet. I mean, the next hearing date, possibly they will do the case management. That is to say, when you look at the witness statements, there have been some attachments. So they need to be sure that everybody has a copy of the attachments and all the documents are reconciled. From prosecution to the defense, and then even the court itself. And then they pick dates for trial to begin.
And this is the latest on the Kwabena Dubois case, as we're showing right now. And so these three individuals, let's get their profile again. The first, that's Edith
Ruby
Opoko.
She's the Director of Finance at the National Signals Bureau. She's worked within the national security sector for 18 years. She worked directly under Kwabena Dubois since 2017. The next person is Frank Anani Depwe. He's a driver. He describes himself as an errand assistant to the accused persons. And then the final one here is Frank Marshall Cromwell. He's the lead investigator, a staff officer at the Economic and Organized Crime Office.
And let's stay a bit further on this. And Adam Sanano is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Sanano, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. And this is information we're getting coming in thick and fast here on Ghana Tonight. And Dennis Paberi Wadam looking into it. The latest from this Kwabena Dubois trial. And these persons, the three individuals we just had Dennis run through, the individuals that they are going to testify in this case for and on behalf of the state against Kwabena Dubois. We're talking about staff of this National Signals Bureau, a driver who used to run errands. He says he used to run errands for the two of the accused persons. And then also we're seeing the lead investigator as well. How does all of this development strike you? I mean, and how the coming days will look like for you from where you sit?
Very useful and helpful when we have much more credible evidence that allows whatever prosecution is being done to take its course and hopefully get to a conclusion that is clear. And so if you have as many as three persons who hopefully are directly linked with the issues at stake and the criminality that we want to investigate and prosecute, I think that's extremely helpful and assuring. Hopefully their evidence will be concrete enough to allow our judicial system to arrive at a fair conclusion on the matter. And it's good to know that very important steps and strides are being taken to follow up on these issues. So it's not just that these things are being reported in the public space and no concrete follow-up steps are happening. That, I think, demonstrates a certain political will and commitment to the anti-corruption drive under this government.
Mensano, appreciate you for this. And stay with me because the next issue as well, I'm going to have you dig into it. And if you could sit up a bit for me. And coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is intensifying its effort to apprehend a former finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, who has officially been declared a wanted man. Now, we're going to get into the latest development right now and how things are playing out because there's been a lot, at least after yesterday, the special prosecutor declaring him a wanted man and then also issuing the Interpol red alert on him. The latest in this matter is that the special prosecutor's pursuit of former finance minister Ken Oforiatta, OSP is denying knowledge of a purported medical report by the doctors of Ken Ofori-Atta detailing his health condition and also the need for him to have urgent care. Now, we're going to show you the details of that particular document, which has gone viral now, which is purported to be a letter from the doctors of Ken Ofori-Atta in the Mayo Clinic in the United States. Now, we've been checking some detail of the location of this clinic. And mind you, it's not just one Mayo Clinic in the United States. We have quite a number of them. In fact, there's another Mayo Clinic in Canada, in the UAE. We saw one in China as well, and in 11 other countries. So, but this one, what we do know is that it's an address that can be located to the one in the United States. It says, "Dear Sir, Madam, I am writing to inform you that Mr. Ofori-Atta has undergone an MR-guided biopsy and has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. A surgical intervention has been deemed necessary after the testing and MRI and biopsy procedures in March 2025. So take note of that. Now, it says, as I indicated in my February letter, this surgical procedure has been scheduled for June 13. So you heard the special prosecutor talk about a June 13 date. So with Dr. Paras Shah of the Department of Urology, it is hoped that a closer date may open up. Following the procedure, Ken Ofori-Atta will require a recovery period before he is able to travel to his home country. So after June 13, if all things being equal, if this procedure takes place, he will need some time to recover. That's what the letter says. So he says, please feel free to contact me if you require any additional information or have any further questions. Best regards, Ahmed Abdullahim, the medical doctor, Section of International Medicine in Rochester and Mayo Clinic, as we see in there. Now, the special prosecutor also, after this letter went viral on the most part of last night into early this morning, the special prosecutor responded with a notice, and we're going to put that on the screen in a bit right now, indicating that as of the time that the special prosecutor, Kisi Jabin, was addressing the press yesterday at 5 p.m., this letter that went viral this morning, the OSP did not have, according to him, a copy of this letter. And as a matter of fact, even if that was available, it would be of no consequence. This is the special prosecutor's response. We wish to place on record that neither Ken Ofori-Atta nor his lawyers have submitted any such letter to the OSP. The only correspondence received from his legal representatives is a letter notifying the OSP of a change in his medical condition and on their say-so. It is notable that this alleged hospital letter has been circulated through the media rather than submitted to the law enforcement agency actively investigating him and responsible for decisions regarding his return to Ghana. To date, no certified medical records or official documentation from any hospital authority has been submitted to the OSP, indicating that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated or unable to travel to Ghana. This is the response that the OSP gave to the letter that I just showed to you, purported to be from the doctors of Ken Ofori-Atta in the United States, now the Mayo Clinic there. Mesano, looking at all of this detail and with the latest letter, the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta are of the view that the special prosecutor is engaged in indecent haste in declaring their client wanted again because of this latest development. How does that strike you?
It's incongruous. It's incongruous with the facts. And I'm surprised that anybody would even align with that kind of thinking or that suggestion. Right from the first time, and perhaps people have not been following the facts, the special prosecutor made it clear that, look, we needed this kind of medical report that clearly states that this is the diagnosis, this is the recommendation, that this person indeed cannot physically travel back to answer questions, such that then we would then be waiting. And it was left to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta and his lawyers to then determine when would be a suitable time in their view, at which point he would be in a state where he could be interviewed or interrogated. And he selected the 2nd June. It beats my imagination that from January, February, all the way up to 28th May, the lawyers have not communicated to indicate that the original date for the intervention never happened, the recuperation didn't happen, and they wait till 4 days to the time when he's supposed to be available and submit a letter, again without evidence that can say that he cannot travel, evidence that says this is a diagnosis, this is a recommendation, this is the period of wait, and therefore, even the letter that is circulated, it's intriguing to find that it is not directed to the OSP. In a case of this nature, where you have a medical facility you're engaging, why was it difficult for them to get the medical facility to write to the OSP or to engage the OSP? Why wasn't that facilitated February, March, April, May? You know, it all does not add up. Meanwhile, in between, they've been busy trying to get TRAJ and other entities to throw the case of the OSP out. It does not work out very well. I think that the OSP has been as professional as possible. I think that they have even bent backwards to have given this opportunity to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta to, you know, as it were, fulfill his commitment to show up on the 2nd of June. And if he and his lawyers were so minded, they ought to have engaged the special prosecutor long before 4 days to the date that he was supposed to have come, to indicate that they failed to do the medical intervention much earlier.
I see. So, but there are those who are of the view that the OSP has been high-handed in his dealings and the latest approach to Ken Ofori-Atta's situation, because if his ill health is to be considered, then that should be at least adopted, so the OSP has a human approach to this process. I'm sure you've had this particular position, and is it one that you align with?
No, I don't, and maybe I need to break down what I was saying earlier. You see, any state agency that is mandated to do investigations of this nature, if you come and you say that you are unwell, they have a responsibility to ask you for where is the medical report showing that you are unwell and showing that you have to undergo these procedures, on which basis they will then do background checks, due diligence, to confirm that it is the case that this diagnosis is real, that this facility that has whatever credibility is saying that you are in their facility and they're going to take A and B actions for this period. The case is that until this point, there has been no evidence provided to the OSP saying that truly this is the diagnosis, except Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta and his lawyers saying that this is the case. In fact, the initial one was on pieces of paper with no letterhead, no logo, no contacts, nothing for them to be able to say this is entity A, and therefore we can call them on the phone number on the letter and follow up. The very first time they are producing a letter, it comes overnight. Even as of yesterday, when we're discussing this, the OSP had no documentation. All of a sudden, overnight, we see in the media a letter purporting to have come from Mayo Clinic in the US, which actually is generic. It says to whom it may concern. If they really wanted to engage the SP, shouldn't they have asked Mayo Clinic, if that's the place he is, to write directly to the SP? Shouldn't they have engaged in a press, conference call or something? There's something just not adding up with all of this. So I am not surprised. I think that anybody who is saying that the OSP has been high-handed is not following the facts. The OSP gave an additional 4 months from the time that, was it 5 months, from the time that they initially raised this issue, and took him off the wanted list. It's the 5 months, you wait till 4 days to the event, and you want to say that the OSP is high-handed? Which part of his human rights have been breached or not respected? I think that they have done a very professional job right up to this point.
I see. Ms. Ano, stay with me, because I've been joined as well by Dr. Victor Doke. He is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He is also an international relations analyst. He's joining us right now. Dr. Victor Doke, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too, Alfred.
Now, and this is the bit about Ken Ofori-Atta's location and the extradition process also brings a different dimension to this conversation, is it not? Now, we looked at the location of this Mayo Clinic, specifically the one that bears the address of this letter in Rochester in the United States. Take a look at this, and this is what we found out. The Google Earth map shows us and where this particular place is, from what we found out. Yes, indeed, there is one that is in Rochester in the United States, as this letter bears that particular address. So we just put this address in the Google Earth, and indeed, it took us to a location of the Mayo Clinic, specifically the urology clinic, because there are a number of Mayo clinics in the U.S., not just one. What we found out as well is that they have other branches or other clinics, not only in the United States, but in China as well, in Canada, in India, in the UAE, and in fact, 11 other countries as well. So this is not a clinic with just one location. And what we saw with the address on the letter that is purported to be from Kenofriate's doctors, the address took us to the one in the United States, Rochester specifically. Now, I want to find out from you how all of this especially strikes you, especially because the OSP says the location, possible locations of Kenofriata is not just in the United States. He mentions the UK, he mentions South Africa, he mentions Guyana, and then also Hong Kong and the Cayman Islands. Now, Hong Kong, Cayman Islands are not member states of the Interpol. So how is the search and extradition process going to be like?
Thank you. So first of all, with regards to the Mayo Clinic, details that has come out, the only way to ascertain, okay, that a patient named Mr. Ken, what the letter has come out, visits the place, is to get the officials of the Ghana embassy there to do some recce, okay, or reconnaissance, whatever you call it. Now, you can only get the confirmation that yes, there's a patient named so-and-so there. But whether other details will be given to you is another question. That is one aspect. Getting the location of Mr. Ken should have been done through the Ghana embassy in the United States. Now, why do I say so? This is a former minister, and during his tenure, he may have visited the country via the Washington, embassy. He may have renewed his details, passport, documentation through the embassy. So they would have somewhat details with regards to his exact location in the US. They can start from there. Now, assuming he went to this Mayo Clinic only once, and then he's not in the location where this letter came out from, then what it means is he may be anywhere. And that is why the OSP is not leaving, it is still unturned. He is doing what we call an overhaul. Thereby, he is trying to put every, Interpol member state or country on the alert with regards to notifying them. But even that one will come when Interpol, per its criteria, has attained that the details of Mr. Ken were that we publish, okay, on the system, a red alert for him, and then the process will now really start. So whatever is going on now is just preliminaries. It's just getting facts and figures. And OSP, first of all, should have liaised with the Ghana Foreign Affairs Ministry here. The Foreign Affairs Ministry would liaise with the Ghanaian embassy in the US to ascertain a location where Mr. What Ken is.
Right.
They can do that using the security attaches there to what? Monitor and then update and report. They cannot apprehend Mr. Ken unless Interpol publishes, gives the go-ahead, and then the local authorities in the USA will come in, liaise with the authorities of the Ghana embassy, and then now have Mr. Ken arrested.
And then we understand that already the OSP has contacted the Foreign Affairs Ministry, as you have just recommended, for that process to kickstart. So there's something already in the works.
I hope it works out. And if that works out, it only means that we are looking at where Mr. Ken is. That is identifying his residence or where he lives. Extradition is another process. Okay? And that is why the OSP has informed the Interpol. Interpol has received it. They would have to go through the process and take, is Mr. Ken, is he taking our boxes with regards to, does he warrant that he goes back to Ghana to face the law? No or yes. If yes, then now they will publish it on their system, their portal, and then the arrest will be effected. Other than that, it may happen that Mr. Ken doesn't tick the boxes and Interpol may reject the request. So if, assuming they reject the request, then it means there's nothing to be done. You only know the location of Mr. Ken. Assuming they say yes, they give the go-ahead, declare and publish Mr. Ken as wanted per red alert, then the U.S. authorities will be notified, and then they'll pick him up.
Interesting detail there. We'll see how the coming days will be like on this matter. Dr. Vetodoka, thank you for your thoughts on this. And Ms. Hanu, appreciate you on this one as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is Ghana Tonight. And as I indicated, this is one that is unfolding thick and fast. We'll see how the coming days will look like on it. But coming up next, Chairman Wontumi, that's Bernardine Chubwesiakum, has been on what looks like a thank you tour, really, after his release, touching base with a number of persons who came through for him, including the leadership of the party, that's the NPP, and some specific individuals who also played some roles in his release. And following that particular release, we see him earlier today at the party's headquarters. Let's hear exactly what happened there.
Chairman, okay, President.
No size.
With the party support everything. I was seven Panama, that was
That's Chairman Wontumi there earlier today. And then after this place, we understand he also went to the residence, in fact, he visited Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to express his appreciation to him for coming out there as well to show him some support while he was in the custody of Ioko. Take a look. And we recall that. And right after that as well, we understand he also went into show appreciation to Brian A. Champon, Dr. Brian A. Champon as well. And bear in mind that he's the one who got the bail for him, stood in as surety. But Brian A. Champon has been giving detail of what really he presented that met that 50 million threshold, and that led to that particular bail that he got yesterday, and he been released from the Yoko custody. Take a look.
These bail conditions. What exactly did you give?
A couple, some houses, normal.
Some houses worth 50 million Ghana cedis?
Well, yeah, some houses.
It's Rock City Hotel part?
No.
No, you must be a very rich man.
I don't know what you call rich.
50 million cedis rich.
I don't know what you call rich. I'm a normal person. Well.
So we are hoping that by the end of today,
God is good.
That's Dr. Brian A. Champon there. Now, we're back shortly after this quick break. Dr. Jonathan Asantiotre, the political analyst, has been sharing his thoughts about this particular development. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, let's go back to that release of Chairman Wontumi and then also the visits that he's had today. Dr. Jonathan Asanchochi is a political analyst. He's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Political Science Department. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. I mean, yes, it's been released. For the many people who are seeing all of how things are playing out, it's a normal occurrence for the likes of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Kennedy Japan was at the IOCO office to solidarize with him as well. And then Brian Champon, who also came in and then got him all the requirements for his bail. That's some say it's normal. But you say that this is a bigger strategy that fits into a political agenda, a bigger picture. Why is that?
Saying good evening to your viewers and to your good self. I think that, yes, I'm really convinced that that is the case because politicians don't do anything for free. And the motivations may be different, but the objective may be the same. And that is the fact that, look, people have a stake to claim in a not too distant future. And they have already made known these views and these motivations through their assigns. Dr. Brian Champon has been out there inaugurating what he calls an exploratory committee to go around to solicit the views of party faithful and others about a presidential ambition. Of course, Kennedy Japan has already made that particular view, to the public. Dr. Bawumia did not stop he did not stop, the thank you tour. He continued it to the point that he even found himself abroad. And so the stakes are quite high. Here is the case. These three individuals show up at a time that the party faithful needed them. And of course, the one who had been incarcerated equally needed them. And so it is about jockeying for position. Nobody can convince me otherwise. That is what it is. But as to whether whatever might have happened will have been to the benefit of another or will have gone to the disadvantage of another person, maybe only time will tell. But for now, nobody can convince me otherwise that within that utilitarian motivation, as it were, to secure the bill and to go according to the bail condition of Mr. Wontumi, there is that egoistic tendency, there is that self, let me put it, there is that self-preservation, agenda within all these utilitarian decisions that they took.
Brian Champon himself hasn't come out publicly to state his ambitions of contesting for the flag bearership. For Kennedy Japan and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, we know because of what happened prior to 2024. They have those ambitions, or they've had those ambitions, and it's clear that that is not going to change. But, I mean, with this one gesture by Dr. Brian Champon, how is it going to work for him? Is it one that you see influencing the allegiance of Wontumi himself and then also the party people because he came in to provide all the bail requirements for Chairman Wontumi?
Yeah, you cannot discount that particular role that he played. There are others who could easily dissuade. Others who don't really support Dr. Bawumia will reinforce their views that when it became critical, he could not in any way create any magic for the party. And that in itself will inure to the benefit of Dr. Brian Champon. You cannot discount that. But as to whether that could create a situation where he will become the leader of the party, I think that is a different subject altogether. You see, sometimes when you find yourself in the public domain, the kinds of things that you say, that will come back to harm you. Those are the things that you have to be guarded. Sometimes I'm tempted to believe that politicians who tend to decide that they want to become president, when they have not in any way conducted themselves, that is presidential, What were they thinking in those periods? What were they thinking? You got yourself in the euphoria. That will come to harm you. The snitch saga will come to harm him. Those unguarded pronouncements that he made will come to harm him. So, obviously, this is just a stage. He will need proper management. And I think that as part of his political strategy, he may have to find a way of apologizing to all and sundry. And then that in itself could put him in a good stead, as it were, within the party itself. And that should be the best way to start with. Well, he's conducting this exploratory committee to find out. Maybe once that information comes to him, then he may decide not to contest or to contest. I don't think that he has not in any way denied those who are making pronouncement about him with respect to a presidential ambition. Once he's not done so, he cannot. He doesn't have to publicly declare that he intends to contest. But my worry is that there's a man who had an avowed support for Dr. Bawumia. What changed? So we just have to be very careful what we do today, because tomorrow is very pregnant. And I've said the same thing with respect to Mr. Kennedy Japan several times. If indeed he had a presidential ambition, there were certain things that he shouldn't have gotten himself involved in, and certain pronouncements he ought not to have made in the public domain. But that is a style. But that is a style that Ghanaians don't really understand. The people that you want to lead, they don't appreciate that style. But that being said, before the 2024 elections, the internal competition that took place within the party, presidential-wise, Mr. Kennedy Japan had a better message than Dr. Bawumia. And I said that time without number. It is not surprising that Dr. Bawumia lost the elections woefully. So Dr. Bawumia himself is a problem for the NPP. It's a dilemma, it's a huge dilemma. Do we sidestep him or we continue with him? So maybe time will tell in a not too distant future. I think that for now, these three will be the leading candidate.
Right. I do appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much. Dr. Jonathan Asantewotri, thank you for your time here on Ghana Tonight. And this is one that you can find a lot more on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Also, the Sunrise 3FM 92.7 team with Johnny Hughes and Apian Pofo and Noble Crosby and 6 a.m. tomorrow morning as well. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior